Good morning. In today's podcast, I'm reading out Firaq Gorakhpuri's famous essay, Beauty is Truth, Truth, Beauty. Professor Raghupati Sahai, whose pen name was Firaq Gorakhpuri, was a professor of English literature at Allahabad University and is acknowledged among the greatest Urdu poet of the Indian subcontinent. He also wrote English prose and essays. His essays are short, simple, and lucid, and remain popular among the students appearing for the competitive examinations. His essays are reflective, imaginative, narrative, and they convey his beautiful mind, his ideology, his thinking, his philosophy, and views on the various subjects. Reading out his essay, Beauty is Truth, Truth, Beauty. Beauty is truth, truth, beauty. That is all you know on earth and all you need to know. These are the concluding lines of Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn. A mildly exciting controversy started with these lines, in which Professor Middleton Murray and other eminent critics presented their different points of view. Some went so far as to say that the ode should have ended just above these lines, which were superfluous. Some others justified the inclusion of these lines, but on different grounds and with different interpretation. Here, Keats sums up the message of the piece of art which the Grecian urn was, and the figures which circle the outer surface of the urn. Keats, in many of his poems, avoids philosophizing or drawing philosophical conclusions. In some of his letters, he said things against mixing up poetry with philosophy. Oh, for a life of sensations rather than of thoughts. And again, all things wither at the touch of cold philosophy. These are stray but significant remarks in some of his letters. Why then did Keats break his own rules, which he scrupulously observed in many of his sonnets and other lyrics, like the Ode to Autumn, Ode to Nightingale, La Bella, Dame Sans Mercy, and even in his longer poems. It may appear paradoxical, but nevertheless true, that his creed and his theory against the intrusion of philosophy into poetry was itself the result of Keats' theory of philosophy and of poetry. For only a rival theory in philosophy can be opposed to another theory or philosophy. Having rounded off, or nearly rounded off, his Ode on a Grecian Urn, Keats felt impelled to draw out attention to the philosophy embodied in or implicit in the piece of art, namely the Grecian urn. This poem stands alone amid all other poetic creation of Keats as being a poem on a piece of sculpture which formed part of the Elgin marbles in the British Museum. The urn itself and the figures on it seemed to Keats as a concrete illustration, or rather revelation, of his own theory of art and poetry. This thesis or theory, according to Keats, goes to the very root of the question, what is art? By aesthetic intuition, Keats, taking his cue from the Grecian urn, reveals reality as having beauty as the most worthwhile, the most central, the highest possible actuality of everything, and that is truth. When a thing begins to exist as beauty, it begins to exist as truth. Truth is something which exists in an ascending scale, reaching its climax not in the utilitarian or other aspected function of a thing but as beauty. To discover the beauty of a thing is to discover the highest self fulfillment of that thing, namely, the truth of that thing. Beauty thus means the highest value or the truth of things. This value is not negotiable. It is not for sale. It is incapable of being presented or perceived in anything but in terms of beauty. Thus, beauty is truth, means a thing apprehended as beauty is the highest value or the truth of that being. Otherwise, the figures in the vase of Grecian urn would only mean a congregation of lines and a depiction of scenes and figures of things which once were and then were not. The Grecian urn gave Keats the divine secret of the figures represented thereon. This divine secret was the truth of the things represented. And now, to the second part of the statement, truth, beauty. Truth here means the truth of apprehension or cognition, the supramental intuitive cognition of things. Here we have a transition from the objective aspect of truth to the authentic and all-satisfying subjective experience of things. This process of aesthetic perception of things makes us feel that not only the figures on the Grecian urn, but the figures on the urn called the universe are not just figures extended or projected in time and space, but figures which touch the stars. To experience things like this is to experience truth, and we have such experience of things when we experience them not as this or that, but as incarnations of beauty. Having felt the divine touch in each and all things, we attain the truth. It is to such a state of experience that Wordsworth in Tintin Abbey refers when he speaks of the sincere and blessed wood, in which the affections gently lead us on to where we are laid asleep in body and become a living soul, while with an eye made quiet by the power of harmony and the deep power of joy, we see into the life of things. To experience life and things of the world in any other way simply burdens the human consciousness with what Wordsworth elsewhere calls the heavy and weary weight of all this unintelligible world. Keats enjoins on us to perceive and understand the figures on the Grecian urn not in an indifferent way, which will make them appear as figuring trivialities with which we shall soon feel satiated and which will end appearing to us as something very flat and unprofitable. We shall perceive that eternity itself has been caught in the figure in the urn, which actually, from the world point of view, represents a moment in the life of the Greek people and not the greatest moment at that. Truth means to capture apparently passing and trivial things as representing the highest aspect of experience and existence. In other words, truth is the beauty, awareness of things. Beauty is truth. It was such an apprehension, even of things ugly or monstrous, that made Caliban say, "This island is full of strange sounds." It was a similar apprehension which resulted in Lucifer appearing as a hero of Paradise Lost. And it was such an apprehension which gave a foreverness and a datelessness to the passing figures on the Grecian urn, leading Keats to conclude his ode with the words, "Beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all you know on earth, and all you need to know." Thank you.